Since humanity's earliest days and its earliest known writings, it has been in a quest for immortality. Today, all kinds of sciences are beginning to break through the wall that has kept us from living very long lives or even becoming immortal itself. And today we're going to explore the idea of immortality and man's quest for immortality from the early prehistory days that stretch back into the mist of time up till the present. I'm Jack Cary, and this is Threshold. Hello, everybody. I'm Jack. This is Threshold, and today we're talking about immortality and mankind's earliest recorded stories came in the form, or at least that we know of, that we've actually discovered, came in the form of cuneiform tablets from the Sumerian civilization. And the primary story being told, or one of the primary stories, is that of the Epic of Gilgamesh. The Epic of Gilgamesh, experts believe, could stretch back into the many, many tens of thousands of years. Nobody really knows how far back the story goes, but many of the tales within the Epic of Gilgamesh ended up being used or encapsulated into the Bible itself. That's pertinent to our conversation because in the Epic of Gilgamesh, Gilgamesh's quest is for that of immortality. And so, from mankind's earliest origins, this has been something that has bothered us, this idea that we have to face death, that we have to leave the world that we know and love and those that we know and love, and without our will or choice, be shoved into another kind of existence. It's presupposed by many exobiologists that there has to be extraterrestrial life who has possibly achieved the goal of immortality and have been able to, live a life in this universe, mastering this universe and themselves. And wouldn't that be a peaceful way? The root of all fear, I've often told people, is where the fear of death is the root of all fear. So imagine that you didn't have the fear of death. What would you be afraid of? I mean, what could you be afraid of? If you didn't hear the ticking clock of time going by, what would you be afraid of if you cannot die? It opens up a whole lot of very interesting philosophical questions. But let's get to the practice itself. In ancient times, in the Egyptian mystery schools, there was a brotherhood known as or mystery school known as the White Brotherhood. It is known that the adherents to this particular mystery school, the priest, had a way of creating what researchers refer to as monoatomic gold. This was, to make it a simple, easy explanation, it was a way of using alchemical principles to extract a substance out of material gold itself. This substance is itself ingestible, and this product, which they called cham or cham, is believed to have caused extreme longevity. And that's something that appears to go back into the very mist of time, into what appears to have been a human interaction with something that was non human. And again, we can look to the Bible and Genesis, where we're thrown out of the Garden of Eden because they didn't want us to eat from the tree of life and become, as they say, one of us, plural. It's very interesting. So, mankind has always been fighting this battle for immortality. Another interesting thing that mankind has pursued in this quest is the idea of achieving immortality, physical immortality, but through spiritual means, magical practices, esoteric techniques. And the Egyptian priesthood, most people don't know, which is really the beginning of all occult groups, had a deep, deep secret. The deepest secret that they held was called the Black Rite. But there were two others. One's known as the White Rite, and the other is known as the Red Rite. Now, it's interesting because these practices, how shall I put this, became part of a lot of very, very deeply hidden occult groups that even today you would not know the name of. They are out there, and there's a lot of these groups that have within them true occult adepts, true masters who are able to utilize these kind of techniques. And with the White Rite, the Red Rite, and the Black Rite, it appears as though the Egyptians mastered a way by which, through psychic or magical means, they were able to achieve a kind of instantaneous reincarnation. And interestingly enough, this also goes back to the ancient pagan practices that were found in Ireland near Newgrange, and I'll talk about those. But the Egyptian priesthood has in their writings these rites, and one of the rites, which is known as the, we'll just call it the White Rite. I'll start with the White Rite. Is a way by which an occult adept, through extreme meditational practices, at some point close to their death, impregnates a willing female to have his heir. And during his death, all while that this child is developing for its 9-month period, there's all of these psychic exercises done. At the point of birth, the master is then led into death, as he's dying anyway, and his consciousness is put into the body of this newborn. This is interesting, and this person is reborn into this world almost as a instantaneous reincarnation, not having to go through these long waiting periods and retaining a lot of their prior life's knowledge and memories. This goes back to the Celtic, even the Celtic pagan practices at Newgrange in Ireland, where some researchers have proven basically that there was the same practice going on. However, in this practice, they were taking remains of someone who had died in the tribe. And you have to realize that everyone that was in one of these tribes was a highly valued member for the survival of the whole group. And they would take the remains of one of these highly valued people, a warrior, a priest. Some people believed it was reserved for the royal lines, but they would take them into the chamber at Newgrange, and on a specific celestial alignment with Venus, it would basically shine a shaft of light all the way down this shaft at the Newgrange site, illuminating this inner temple where the remains would be. There would be a woman who had been impregnated during their winter solstice rituals, so that the child would be born at or near the spring equinox. And so this soul of this tribal member would be invoked into this newborn child, and that child would be given the person's name, all of their worldly possessions, and they would assume the role of that person in the tribe. And whether or not it worked is, some could say is kind of beside the point in a way, because of how profound that was from our ancestors who were attempting so hard to overcome this thing that horrifies us all. So it's interesting that mankind has pursued immortality through these magical means, and there are very strong documented cases of this actually working. If you're connected with people who have this kind of knowledge, and the other two rites are interesting because in one case an adult who's willing is used, and in the black rite I've actually been advised not to delve into. The black rite is a dangerous thing, and is some would say is probably black or evil in origin. So I won't discuss that on air, but it shows that this ancient, sort of spiritual technology was what they were using. And today we're using our science. So their magic's been replaced with our science, and we're making huge progress in the race for immortality. And it's even been a bill has been proposed to Congress now to allow for government funding of longevity research itself, whereas now they have to rely on private funding, etc. And they have made huge breakthroughs. So not only with the idea of caloric restriction, which some of you may know about, the idea that by restricting yourself to very, very small amounts of calories at a time, and really you're talking about eating food 5 days a week, maybe 4, and the other 3 are kind of like fasting days, or you would wait a full 12 hours in between meals and only eat 2 meals. It's that kind of a thing, which has been shown to increase longevity in mice and reduce their chances of any deadly disease by a very large percentage. The side effect was that they were lethargic, as you might imagine, because you don't have calories to burn, and they had a hard time maintaining their body temperatures, so they were always cold. So you have to kind of, realize that there's always going to be something that is going to offset the benefit somewhat. And lately they have a new finding, and this is interesting, and I wanted to pull it up for you guys and show you the latest. So a new finding has come out, and of course they use mice a lot because we actually share a lot of DNA with mice. So they've developed this new supplement, and it slows aging process in mice and possibly in humans. And not only that, but they found that they've actually been able to take aging and reverse it completely. So in their latest study, these mice were actually getting younger. And this is going to perhaps revolutionize our society. And you can see that, they're serious about getting this to humanity. And with that comes a lot of other problems that we're going to have to solve. For example, how long do you allow someone to live? Because you can't just breed 20 billion people and everybody be immortal and you still have a viable habitat of some kind. Is immortality the only way for us to escape the planet and make it to the stars? Another great question. Will it be like everything else in history, where the elite, the wealthy, those who can take advantage or game the system, end up becoming the immortal ones, while the others, suffer through death, as we have as a species forever? It's going to be a very interesting future. And just even the idea of, and these are called zootropics, really, any kind of medications that they're going to be developing here in the future, you might as well refer to as zootropics. They're going to be longevity enhancing, performance enhancing. You're going to be faster than you ever were, smarter than you ever were, live 200-300 years at least. If you're not immortal, you're going to, have 3D printers that print out a heart for you if you need one. You'll have perhaps artificial blood, cyborg parts, and many futurists believe that the future of humanity is actually going to be a combination of biology and machinery. So if we live long enough, guys, you and I will both be part robot. I'll see you next week. This is Threshold. And next week, we're going to explore what might just be a holographic universe.
Is there a large ape-like creature currently roaming the forests of North America? Or is there something more paranormal responsible for the origins of such a creature? The ECBRO founder, Daniel Benoit, has been searching for the answers to back up the flesh and blood theory for more than a decade. On the next From Behind Tall Trees, find out why the strange howls, whoops, knocks, and tree structures Dan and his team have investigated may finally shed some light on the relationship Sasquatch just might have with his great ape ancestors. When the CARC presents Ladies' Night, hosted by Gwen Purcell and Cary Devine-Acker, Wednesday, March 23rd, only on CARC Universal. Be there. You've been watching Threshold with Jack Cary, a Catskill Appalachian Research Collective production. For more information on this program and others like it, remember to like, share, and subscribe to CARC Universal today. To join the conversation on our Facebook group, become a member of the Catskill Appalachian Research Collective Facebook group. CARC. Relentless.